What do you think? 10 minutes past 6. Now, back to our top story. The MP Chris Huhne resigned yesterday after being charged with perverting the course of justice, although he's vigorously contesting the charge. Under the charges, he's being accused of allowing his wife to take the blame for some penalty points that he allegedly should have received for speeding. And even though the former Energy Secretary may be completely innocent, his case does raise interesting questions about what sort of penalties you could face if you were to try to pass your points to somebody else. So, with me, the President of the Association of Motor Offence Lawyers, Jeanette Miller. We're going to put individual people entirely to one side and talk generally this morning about the offence. And a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
How common is it?
Well, I think it is probably quite common, but the difficulty is I don't think it's detected that often. In the business that I run, I frequently get calls from people looking for some kind of loophole, and I should say loopholes usually are legal. But it's amazing, the people that I speak to, often articulate and intelligent business people, who say, well, my wife hasn't got any points on her licence, what if she takes the points for me? And obviously I have to strongly advise against that, because it is incredibly serious. Attempting to pervert the course of justice will almost undoubtedly result in a prison sentence.
So you've got let's think of this kind of mythical businessman, speeding, caught speeding, issued with points, and the reason that they don't want to take them would be what? Too many? Tip you over the edge?
Yeah, it takes to amass 12 points within a 3-year period results in you being brought before the courts for a potential ban under the totting up provisions. Now that's usually 6 months. It can be longer in some circumstances. So what tends to happen, and I think probably the reason why this is to some extent widespread, is because a lot of these points arise from speed cameras rather than somebody actually stopping a driver. And I think, this is my own speculation, but I think when people receive something through the post saying who was driving the car, it perhaps seems less serious despite all the warnings that are issued on the paperwork. And they think that they can get away with it. And speed cameras don't actually take photographs of the driver's face, they take a photograph of a vehicle registration plate. So a lot of drivers, I believe, think that it's not that serious and they can say it was somebody else.
What if you say, we regularly drive that motorway, could have been me, could have been someone else in my family?
Yeah. Well, that is also quite common, and it's quite common on a genuine basis. Obviously, lots of couples share cars, and lots of businesses have pool cars that many drivers could be driving. And the law allows for a situation where you genuinely don't know who was driving, but you have to go to court to demonstrate that you have taken reasonable steps to try to identify the driver, so that that evidence is tested. You can't just say it and think, right, well, nothing's going to happen to me. The courts have to decide whether the certain criteria to that kind of situation apply, which means you won't be prosecuted for failing to identify the driver.
You say that this is considered very serious offence. How is that reflected?
Well, the offence of perverting the course of justice or attempting to pervert the course of justice is a common law offence. That means that the maximum penalty is actually life imprisonment. I mean, it's very unlikely that that would ever be imposed. But for this type of situation, I was looking at some stats yesterday, and I think it was 2007, 81% of drivers over, or of defendants over 21, convicted of the offence after they've tried to defend it, so they pleaded not guilty at the beginning. 81% of them received a prison sentence. And the average prison sentence, and obviously it's going to cover a whole host of situations, but the average sentence was 31 months in prison. So it is incredibly serious.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Jeanette Miller from the Association of Motor Offence Lawyers. Thank you. It's just approaching 6:15. Let's have a look at the newspapers this morning. And the Times here shows